allow me to write about them. So with that being said, I'm going to start reading from chapter 1. Excuse me. I do not have coronavirus. My allergies are on, people say it's on 10, my allergies are on 100 right now. I don't know what's going on in the state of Oklahoma, but everybody seems to be afflicted. And as soon as I finish this live, I have to start taking steroids to try to get rid of the cough. So it's all kind of crazy stuff, but I'm okay. I just have allergies, and I had my final COVID shot yesterday, and I am suffering the effects of that. And y'all can't tell because I have my mask on very well, but I am exhausted. I am exhausted and my body aches, but I am pushing through because I want to do this. So here we go. And I'm going to turn this music down. All right. Here we go. So chapter 1. Chapter 1 is told from the point of view of my main female character, and her name is Orchid Maya Ishmael. He sits, I watch. He sips, I watch. He licks his lips, I watch, and then lick mine, mirroring his obviously sensual action, unable to control my reaction to the magnetic pull this man's planet has on my orbit. He is beautiful. His skin glows like moonlight bathing the coals of the fire he ignites in my soul. Whew, I want him. I don't even know his name. And I'm not used to feeling this carnal desire he triggers in my most neglected places. I'm not used to all this sitting and watching and, for lack of a more appropriate word, stalking. I'm literally stalking this man. Well, baby stalking. I'm not following him home and lurking outside of his house, but what I'm doing right now might be considered a gateway drug. This crazy obsession started 3 weeks ago. I was leaving the gym when I walked past the Liquid Lounge, a local black-owned coffee shop on Greenwood. I was on my way to the car. My core was so sore from yoga, all I could think about was soaking in a scalding hot bubble bath with a good book and a glass of wine. I don't usually hang out in coffee shops. Hell, I don't even drink caffeine. But the sight of this man sitting in the window abruptly stopped me in my tracks. I'm almost certain my sneakers left skid marks on the pavement as I screeched to a dramatic halt. He was engrossed in a book, and as I clumsily burst through the doors, some subconscious instinct told me to walk over and introduce myself. Lust made me want to sit down at his table and openly flirt with him. Fear had me slowly walking to the counter, hoping he would notice me and make the first move. He didn't. And I didn't want to look stupid, so I asked the barista to make me a drink. Any cold drink that didn't contain caffeine. I walked into the coffee shop without a man or a drink. I left the coffee shop with a delicious iced drink the barista suggested, some milkshake textured concoction made of almond milk with a shot of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, and a ton of whipped cream. But still no man because I was too scared to talk to him. It's been 3 weeks and I still haven't spoken to him. I come into this coffee shop every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, hoping to catch a glimpse of his bald head as he dips under the low doorway and makes his way to the counter to order the same drink every day. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. How he can drink hot coffee in the middle of August puzzles me, but I love the sound of his voice as he orders. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. The last time I ordered something so utterly horrendous, I was sitting in a booth at the Waffle House on South Peoria, trying to sober up after drinking too many Long Island teas at This Is It, a club I used to frequent in my youth. Obviously, it's his favorite drink, so I hope his breath doesn't taste bitter if I ever get a chance to kiss him. I'm sitting at my usual corner table and discreetly watching him as he sits at his usual corner table with a book, his disgusting coffee, and AirPods in his ears. I wonder what he listens to as he reads. Rap is too distracting and R&B slow jams promote too much spontaneous grinding, so I've settled on classical or jazz. He looks like he enjoys a good jazz set. Today is different though. There are no AirPods. There is no book. There's coffee and a woman. And if I'm comparing her to coffee, she's not his usual selection. She's more of a breakfast blend with a touch of honey and a splash of heavy cream. She's gorgeous. Her sandy hair is pulled away from her face in a classy bun, revealing cute diamond studs that must have cost a fortune. She's wearing the cutest black turtleneck sweater and camel-colored jeans. Her knee-high black boots are nice and shiny, not a scuff in sight. She looks expensive without looking stuck up. I like it. She sits, he sits, they talk. It's a heated discussion without being an argument, yet she seems upset. He frowns, and she looks away. Their eyes meet again, and he smiles at her. It's a reassuring smile. She smiles back. It's a sad smile. It looks like an amicable breakup, but there's a catch. The woman he's amicably breaking up with is Serafina Roberts, and she's married. She's also my coworker, which makes this more than a little awkward. I immediately scratch him off my to-do list, and as I do so, I die a little. And then I theoretically pour out a little coffee for the dead relationship that never started. My little crush has crushed me before I had a chance to say hello. I was going to say hello one day. Not today, though, for obvious reasons. Not any day, again, for obvious reasons. What I am going to do is quietly pack up my laptop and tiptoe my ass up out of here because I don't want to make this moment any more awkward than it needs to be. They say if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans. I imagine she's having the best laugh right now. A knee-slapping, get up out of your chair and run across a room kind of laugh that leaves her gasping for air while crossing her legs trying not to pee on herself. I'd be laughing too if it wasn't me. But it is me, and it's not funny. I'm embarrassed, as if he actually knows I've only been coming here to see him. I'm embarrassed, and I'm the only one who knows anything about these ill-advised trips to the coffee shop. She sees me watching, and as our eyes meet, a slow smile overtakes her glossy lips. She leans into him, whispering until his gaze leaves her pretty face and lands on mine. Damn it, I'm mesmerized. He smiles, and I know that show of pretty teeth belongs to me. I roll my eyes and laugh at the audacity of it all. Me, ogling a man I've only ever seen in passing, who just happens to be sitting with the woman who sits 2 desks away from me. I see her every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday in the offices of Shiny Magazine. She used to have an underground poetry column, but was recently promoted to an editing role, often leaving cute little notes on my assignments, pointing out what she loves about them before hitting me with tiny revisions I wouldn't even notice if she didn't tell me about them. I see her every day, but I've never actually had a deep conversation with her. Her husband is Khalil Roberts, a famous musician who happens to be touring around Europe right now. Her father-in-law is Carl Roberts, the famous saxophone player. Why she's working when she could be shopping all day is beyond me, but that just adds to her charm, which is why seeing her here is just so damn disappointing. If she were the least bit interesting to the paparazzi, they would have a field day with what I'm seeing right now. I'm not calling her boring. She's sweet. She's regular. She's not scandalous enough for the tabloids to bother with her. Sarah Roberts is one of those low-key nice people who walks into a room and brings sunshine with her. Even though I don't want to, I find myself smiling back at her before standing up and gathering my things. It feels awkward knowing her, but not really knowing her, yet seeing her sitting in a coffee shop with my secret dream guy while her husband is out of the country. I'm not comfortable having this kind of knowledge about her after-hours activities. Orchid. I pause with my laptop half in and half out of my leather backpack and frown slightly as Sarah approaches me with a big smile on her face. Hey, Sarah, I say, wondering what her motive is. I didn't know you came here. I live down the street, she tells me. By down the street, she means Saks Luxury Lofts, and I've seen her big-ass living space highlighted in the pages of Architectural Digest. Yeah, they have really strong Wi-Fi and great caffeine alternatives, I say, studying her demeanor for any sign of embarrassment. There is none. She's her normal, nice, sweet, accommodating self, but there is a hint of sadness in her eyes. I can't help but wonder why she's talking to me. This is gonna sound insane, she says with a cute little giggle, but I've been dying to meet you. Girl, you sound crazy. We literally just saw each other at work. Come with me, she says, grabbing my hand and gently pulling me towards their table. A tiny part of me wants to object, but a bigger part of me is intrigued. So I allow Sarah to walk me over to meet the man I've been wasting my time baby stalking. He stands as we approach, and I can feel the cream he leaves out of his coffee gathering in my panties as he holds his hands out to me. Jeremy, this is Orchid, Sarah introduces us. Orchid, this is Dr. Jeremy Sanders, one of my very best single guy friends. His name is Jeremy. I force myself to look at him. It feels strange, finally knowing his name. He grasps my hand firmly, and the sugar he leaves out of his coffee almost passes from my lips to his. Orchid, he says, a smile lighting up his dark eyes. It's nice to finally meet you. Finally? I raise an eyebrow. He laughs and offers me a seat at the table. Not only does he offer me a seat, but he pulls said seat out for me and then smiles broadly as I sit down. His voice sounds even smoother up close, and I'm thankful he wasn't offering his lap. I'd gladly sit down, embarrassing all three of us. I take a sip of my drink and alternate my curious gaze between Jeremy and Sarah with an unspoken question on my lips. Very single best guy friend, Sarah had said. Either this was the epitome of damage control, or Sarah was trying to play Cupid. If it's the latter, I don't mind, but that doesn't explain the scene I just witnessed between them. Was I imagining things? So when will your husband be home, I asked curiously. It must be hard having him so far away. It's not easy, she says, looking at her vibrating cell phone in annoyance. Speak of the devil, she says, answering the call with a distracted, Hey baby, we were just talking about you. He must have asked who we was because she says my name, and then explains I'll work with her before quickly mentioning Jeremy. She frowns slightly after saying Jeremy's name, and something tells me her husband doesn't approve. I look over at Jeremy and he shrugs. No, I'm headed home right now. I walk to work. You know I like to walk. Well, I can ask Jeremy to take me home if you're that paranoid, she sighs. I did it today. I can hear her husband speaking, but I can't understand what he's saying. He must have told her to find another ride, because she's rolling her eyes as she says, I'm not taking an Uber, Khalil. I'm going to walk. Okay, bye. Love you too. I have to go, she says apologetically. Sarah, you've been walking to and from work, I ask. It's just down the street, Sarah begins, but I hold my hand up. It's 3 blocks, and just because we're in a nicer part of downtown doesn't mean we aren't still downtown. It's not safe for you, especially not with those diamonds in your ears. Are you nuts? What kind of husband would rather his wife walk alone than get a ride with her friend? Unless there's something I'm missing. Maybe she'll listen to a woman, because she sure hasn't been listening to me, Jeremy chuckles. He looks at me as he stands and asks, what are you getting ready to do? I was going to head home too, I tell him. He pulls a 20 out of his wallet and gently folds my hand around it. Will you wait for me? Order more of whatever you're drinking. I'm going to drive Sarah home. I promise I'll be quick. He asks so sweetly, I find myself slowly nodding as he and Sarah make their way to the door. Sarah waves and winks at me before walking ahead of Jeremy out of the coffee shop. How odd, I mumble, watching their interaction. Their familiarity is confusing to me. The whole thing is odd, but I'm intrigued and more than slightly enamored with this man Sarah called her very best single guy friend. If they are just friends, why was she so hesitant to mention his name to her husband? Jeremy. I roll his name around in my mind before whispering it out loud. Jeremy. Dr. Jeremy. He probably has a nurse stashed in every supply closet and $1 million in unpaid student loans. I'm not being fair. I'm working on my cynicism and trying to tame my ability to automatically see the imaginary bad in men, writing them off before they have a chance to prove me wrong. As a result, I've been labeled as unfriendly. People see me as cold and unapproachable. I'm actually a very loving person, but I once had a bad habit of leading with that loving nature. It gave people the idea that I was easily led astray. They were right. As a result, I don't trust many people. I especially don't trust any man but my brother to genuinely care about my mental and emotional well-being. That's why I don't understand why I'm so attracted to Jeremy. What makes him different? I look down at my hand. Why am I sitting here holding this $20 bill, contemplating ordering myself another creamy vanilla drink and ordering Jeremy a black coffee with no sugar and no cream? More importantly, why in the hell am I waiting for him? Yeah, why, I ask myself. Because he is fine, and it has to be more than his looks. I try to ignore the tingling sensation in my loins, but there are certain parts of me screaming for attention. It's been a long time since I've been touched. Is it sexual attraction? That must be it, because the last time I felt this way, at first glance, I ended up marrying the wrong man. We were 20. He was the wrong kind of husband for me. I was the wrong kind of wife for him, but the sex was phenomenal. Maybe that's why we stayed together so long. Great sex can often be mistaken for love. We mistook it for 5 years. I never got pregnant, not for a lack of trying. Looking back, I realized it was for the best. A baby would have been a temporary fix, but a permanent responsibility. One I would have ended up raising on my own. I often wonder if it was divine intervention. God knew we didn't belong together. I'm pretty sure she tried to send me signs, but I always seemed to make a U-turn right back to the man with the golden peen. I've learned my lesson. I do not want to mistake sexual attraction for interest in anything below his surface. I also don't want to mistake his flirting for genuine interest in anything besides what I can do for him in bed. And I can do a lot. What if that's all it is? What if our attraction is purely sexual? Is that something I'd be open to? Maybe. I've observed him enough times to know his swagger isn't just for show. Jeremy is packing more than a wallet in those jeans, and I want to see it. I think. I don't know. That might be messy, sis. A small voice inside of me whispers, "What the fuck are you doing? Are you that horny?" Yes, damn it. The last man that kissed me goodnight kissed me goodbye when he found his somebody. I was just his body. That was 3 years ago. It's a pain I never want to revisit. Langston tricked me into believing something temporary was forever, and then told me I misunderstood the situation, that I assumed we were together when we weren't. We never discussed being together. He never asked me to be his girlfriend. As far as he was concerned, we were just friends with benefits. I thought he loved me. He didn't. And I've gone on a few dates since then, but never with anyone I wanted to see again. I always drive myself to avoid awkward goodbyes. I don't want to kiss or even hug a man I know I'll never see again. I was fine with celibacy until the day I laid eyes on Jeremy Sanders. He puts thoughts in my mind my body can't handle. So many nights I've gone home and spent a romantic evening alone with my battery-operated boyfriend. I touch myself with Jeremy's face in my mind. It is not the same. Vibrators can't kiss or hold me after the climax. There's no foreplay. It goes straight to work and then puts me right to sleep. I wonder if Jeremy is a cuddler. I'm still sitting here, waiting. Against my better judgment, I go ahead and order our drinks. Our mugs arrive just as he walks through the door. He takes off his leather jacket and drapes it behind his chair. "You waited," he smiles as he sits down across from me. "You asked me to," I respond, nudging his coffee towards him. "How did you know?" he asks, taking a sip of his black coffee and smiling appreciatively. I notice he doesn't ask for his change, and I don't offer it. "You look like a black coffee kind of guy," I say nonchalantly. It sounds so much better than the truth. There's no way I'm going to tell him I've been listening to him order the same thing for 3 weeks. I take a small sip of my drink and lick the extra whipped cream from my straw. I'm not trying to be sexual. I'm lying. I'm trying to be sexual without looking like I'm trying to be sexual. The look on his face tells me it's working. "That looks so good," he mumbles more to himself than me. "Want to taste it?" I ask seductively. I'm teasing him with a subliminal fantasy, but in reality, I'm just trying to regain the upper hand I lost the moment he smiled at me. "What does it taste like?" "It's sweet," I tell him. "Damn, I bet it is." He walks his fingers towards my hand and then changes direction, reaching for my drink instead. I slide it towards him and allow him to take a small sip. "You're right," he says with a wink. "It is sweet." Our fingers touch as he hands the mug back to me. Did he feel the tiny jolt of electricity I felt when our skin briefly connected? Damn it. Now I'm thinking about how his hands would feel on my body. Would the electricity intensify? I take another sip, hoping my thoughts aren't reflected on my face. They are. I can tell by the way he's looking at me. He's wondering the same thing. "So what's up between you and Sarah?" I ask before the messy part of this situation strays too far from my mind. "What were you two talking about?" "You kind of nosy," he observes. "Are you fucking?" I ask bluntly. "No, why would she introduce us if we were fucking?" "I don't know," I say as I swirl my stir straw around in my drink. "Maybe she's trying to throw me off the scent. Maybe you are too. Maybe this is a setup." "I can assure you that Sarah and I are not fucking," he says emphatically. "Have you?" I'm pushing because what I witnessed was not a normal conversation. Neither was Sarah's conversation with her husband. Jeremy doesn't answer. Have you? I ask again as I take a slow sip of my drink. I stare at him over the rim of my mug and raise my eyebrows, because it looked like a breakup to me. He shakes his head. A momentary look of sadness flashes in his eyes before quickly disappearing. Sarah and I go way back, he says simply. Her husband doesn't like me. What did you do? Now, why would you automatically assume it was me? He has a nice laugh. It had to be you, I say matter-of-factly. She's kind of perfect and she's too sweet to be a troublemaker. He looks down at his coffee. I fell in love with her. His honesty startles me. Are you still in love with her? I ask cautiously. I'll always love her, but it's strictly platonic. She's my friend. It's kind of complicated, he tells me. Does she love you back? As a friend, yes, he sighs. Are you sure you want to go into this? I'd rather talk about us. There is no us without this conversation, I tell him. Okay, fine, he says in exasperation. Sarah and I dated before she met Khalil. What happened, I ask, begrudgingly interested in this saga between Sarah and Jeremy. Did she leave you for him? Actually, she broke up with me before she met him. She used to do that a lot, break up with me. I mean, I never took it seriously because she always came back. This time, the last time was the last time, huh? I nodded. So she didn't come back? Not even for a little loving? Nope, he chuckles wryly. She met Khalil. I never had a chance with her after that. Do you think it was his money? What? No, absolutely not. Sarah isn't a gold digger. She loves that man. He's offended by my question, and I wish I could take it back. I'm sorry, that question was out of line. He smiles. Just that question? I shrug. So why did you guys keep breaking up? I was a serial cheater, he says with a shake of his head. I'm not proud of it. So what's the rest of the story? Because I am not friends with any man who ever cheated on me. Well, you know Khalil was in a coma for a little over 2 years, right? Of course you know that. Everybody knows that. Sarah and I reconnected, purely coincidental. We became friends, and I fell in love with her, but she was in love with him. You didn't love her when you were together? I don't know. I knew she was a keeper, so I kept her around. And when we became friends, I guess I realized what I was missing out on, and I fell in love with who she was. Wow, I whisper as I grab my backpack. Sounds like you're still in love with her. Please stay. He grabs my hand and squeezes it gently. I'm not in love with her. I promise you that. It was a long time ago. I've moved on. He hasn't. I can see it in his eyes. If Sarah wanted him, he'd be there before she could say the word. It's not a situation I want to involve myself in. I tell him that. I'm not looking for a relationship, but I'm also not looking for any drama. Why did she introduce us, I ask him. Because I've been telling her all about the beautiful woman with the mocha legs I keep seeing in the coffee shop. I told her I wanted to slurp you up. Mocha legs? You have never seen my legs, sir. 3 weeks ago, purple running shorts, black tank top, black sports bra, gray running shoes. It broke my heart when you put your hoodie on and covered up all that pretty skin, he says with a smirk. What color was the hoodie, you stalker? I feel a blush creeping up my neck and settling in my cheeks. He's describing the outfit I'd been wearing the first time I saw him. How did you know my coffee order, stalker? His question hung in the air between us. It was black, by the way, with thumb holes. I do love thumb holes, I admit with a laugh. So the entire time I've been watching you, you've been watching me, I ask incredulously. If by watching you mean stalking without following you home, making special stops to the coffee shop even when it's out of my way, then yes, I've been watching you. You've been watching me? I may have noticed you a few times, I say coyly. Why didn't you approach me? Why didn't you? This is stupid. I'm speaking more to myself than him, but he has to know how completely messy this situation could be if we allowed it to go any further than our present conversation. Maybe if we'd spoken before I saw him with Sarah. Maybe if he hadn't done everything but verbally admit he's still in love with that woman. So you work for Shiny Magazine too? He changes the subject. It wasn't at all subtle, but I welcomed the distraction. Yeah, I have a column, I tell him. Orchid's Nectar. He leans back in his chair and nods appreciatively. Now it all makes sense. What makes sense? I don't want to seem too eager, but I'm still a little intrigued by him despite the circumstances. My phone rings before he can answer. One look at the screen and I know I won't be picking up. I send the call to voicemail, frowning slightly at the intrusion. Sorry, you were saying? Who was that? Drama? He wants to be, I laugh. I told you I don't like drama. You get paid off drama, he says jokingly. Like I said, it all makes sense now that I've met you. You don't even try to be nice to some of those people. You think I'm mean? I stare at him. Aren't you? Well, you can't pour syrup on shit and call it pancakes, can you? I reply. Sometimes you have to shake someone hard to wake them up. They need answers, not frilly scenarios. That's why they write to me. You look cute when you're being mean, Jeremy says with a sexy chuckle. Look, if you don't want the truth, don't ask me. I'm a Sagittarius. I don't give unwanted advice, but if you ask me for it, I'm going to give it to you. I heard great things about the Sagittarius woman, he says slyly. Bullshit, I tell him. Why do you say that, Jeremy asks. The nerve of him. You know all about the Sagittarius woman, I roll my eyes. Serafina Roberts is a Sagittarius too, I respond flippantly. We had to share a cake at work last year for the December birthday party. She's not you, he tells me. Dear baby Jesus, why am I still sitting here with this man? I throw my hands up in exasperation. Because I have a problem and you've been called to help. Jeremy leans in close to me and licks his lips. Can I run it by you? No, because I have a feeling you're still on some bullshit. We're all on some bullshit. He swipes my mug and takes another sip. Look, I just lost one of my best friends. The playfulness leaves his voice and I can tell he's hurt underneath all his bravado. I know it's my karma, but that doesn't make it any easier. She's been trying to let go of me for a while, but I didn't want to acknowledge it. Her friendship means everything to me because it taught me how to be a better person. I used to be a fucked up individual. And I'm not mad at her. Her husband is supposed to come first, and I said some messed up shit to him when he was in that coma. I wanted to wake him up for her. Well, shit, maybe I said it to wake him up. Maybe I said it to fuck with him because no matter what I did, she loved him. She wanted him even when she tried to settle for me. So, something happened during that time? I'm curious. Almost, he shook his head. Look, Orchid, I don't want that to put the brakes on this thing before we have a chance to get started. I don't want to talk about Sarah anymore. You know all you need to know. There is nothing there, but there could be something here if you stop asking so many questions and just let it happen. I have a smart remark on the tip of my tongue, but my phone rings again. He looks at me like, are you going to get that? I silence the phone. It rings again. What did he do? Jeremy asks. He was mean. Did he put his hands on you? Jeremy asks, anger flashing in his eyes. No, he just used words. What words? I don't want to talk about it, I say softly. Well, that's how it started. Jeremy takes my phone. Stop calling, he answers forcefully. She doesn't want to talk to you. Don't worry about who this is. You like talking crazy to women? How about you talk crazy to me? Yeah, well, fuck your apology, player. He hangs up and then takes it upon himself to block the number. I'm more than a little turned on by his protectiveness. It's been a long time since any man besides my brother has ever cussed a man out on my behalf. Why haven't you blocked him yourself? Jeremy asks. I don't know, I sigh. I'm lying. It's Langston. I haven't blocked him because I'm waiting on an apology that will never come. I want to understand why he left me and then came back 3 years later, as if I would be thrilled to hear from him. He sounds like an asshole, Jeremy tells me. Do you love him? Not anymore, I answer. I haven't heard from him in 3 years. He called me out of the blue a few days ago. I think I just wanted to understand why he hurt me. Why are women always looking for answers and understanding? He doesn't care. There is nothing he could say to make you understand why he did whatever he did to you. Wow, don't you ever take your own advice? I'm good at giving advice, but not so good at implementing it in my own life, I sigh. Those who can't do, teach. His laugh isn't mocking or judgmental. I have to go, I tell him. And it's not a lie. I have to go before I lose myself in his eyes again. Jeremy doesn't try to stop me, but insists on walking me to my car. I'm parked around the corner, and as we walk, he spontaneously grabs my hand. It's too natural. It makes me feel too comfortable. I don't pull away as he slowly guides me away from the curb and places me safely on the other side of him. If a car jumped the curb, it would probably kill us both, but I found comfort in knowing he was willing to soften the blow for me. If someone wrote into your column and told you a man in my situation wanted to have dinner with her, what would you tell her? Jeremy opens my car door, and then to my amazement, after I've settled into my seat, he leans over me and swiftly fastens my seatbelt. I discreetly inhale, so drunk from the tempting woodsy scent of his cologne, I have to squash the desire to bury my face in his neck and plant small kisses at the base of his throat. I would tell her to run. I stare up at him as he stands in my open car door and stares down at me with a smoldering gaze. Are you going to run? He asks softly. Are you asking me to have dinner with you? I ask him. Have dinner with me, he tells me. Please, he adds with a sexy smile. I would tell her to run, I repeat emphatically, unable to pull myself away from his gaze. Towards or away, he wants to know. Away, I answer. So which direction are you running, Orchid? All I can do is shrug. And that is the end of chapter 1 of Orchid's Nectar. And chapter 2 picks up with Jeremy and his thoughts about that whole exchange. And